Welcome to Lighten Up, the Art of Living Clutter-Free, a podcast for people who are ready to clear the physical, the mental, and the emotional clutter that's been weighing them down. I'm Melanie Cohen, your host, coach, and guide. Each week, we talk about the clutter you can see and the clutter you can't. The stuff in your home, the noise in your head, the expectations, habits, and unmade decisions that quietly drain your energy. This isn't about perfection or minimalism. It's about creating space for what actually matters in this season of your life. Let's lighten up together, starting now. Good. Hello, welcome back to another episode of Lighten Up, the Art of Living Clutter-Free, where we talk about all things clutter. And if you can't tell already, I don't have a special guest. I have 4 special guests tonight. I want to introduce you to all of my favorite thrifting buddies. Say hello, everybody.
Hey.
Yay! Okay, so I have been wanting to do this for a really long time. I have been thrifting since 1985. I'm just going to say that I fell in love with it then. These are the gals that I thrift with now. It's going to be a tough episode when Bill watches because he thinks that he's my favorite person to thrift with, but you guys are the ones. So we're going to go around. Well, I'm going to ask each of you to introduce yourself, maybe how you know me, and like a really quick why I love thrifting. Okay, so I'm going to start with Evie.
Okay. Hi, I'm Evie Raybeck, and I met Melanie. I'm trying to remember the year. Might have been 2007, early 2007. We worked together and became fast friends. So it's been a while.
It
Gosh,
has
almost
been.
20
It
years.
has.
Wow.
Right? That's crazy. That's crazy. All right, Miss Rosie.
Hi, Rosie, and I've known Mel for 14 years. I know that because I gave birth to my daughter 14 years ago, almost 15. How I know you is so complicated. I don't think we have time to even go into it, but you happen to know someone in my husband's family, which is crazy because he's from the Midwest and he's not from Brooklyn at all. He has no family from Brooklyn. We are the first Brooklynites, and you were in a very niche neighborhood that we had been living in, and somehow we connected. I kind of find that miraculous.
I love that. And maybe I'll do a whole episode on the reasons why social media isn't as bad as you think it is. And it is because it in so many cases has reconnected people after that was like 35-year difference. So I love that. Hello.
Exactly.
Welcome to Kara.
Hi.
We're gonna go to Miss Leah and Felicia and then Kara. So Leah, introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Leah, and like Rosie, I met Melanie, I know exactly 14 years ago when I brought my infant son in a bucket into one of her meetings. And she very kindly looked at me and went, "We don't really have kids, but it's fine." And
Did I say that?
Yes. And I was
I'm surprised I didn't take him out of the carrier.
No, he was, and amazingly enough, he was quiet the whole time. So exactly 14, almost 15 years ago.
Okay, Felicia.
It was a long, snowy, cold day. No. It's actually going to be 21 years because my daughter was an infant. We had our baby naming at the Bay Ridge Jewish Center, and then we decided to become members. And that fall, we were there for the holidays, and we fell in love. Max and Shayna were the same age. They were besties, and it's hard to believe, but baby Alex is going to be 21. She the same age as me this March.
I mean, you could pass for 29. I don't know if you can pass for 21, but I'll give it to you. And Kara, I would love for you to introduce yourself.
Sure. I'm Kara, and my connection to Melanie is through Evie at a birthday gathering upstate, a super fabulous one. And I guess it was, I don't want to say how many years ago. It was a couple years ago. And it's been great ever since.
Absolutely. I think we met at Sydney's bar mitzvah, but it feels
Possibly,
like
yeah.
That is definitely. That's definitely forever ago. Did you purposely put me at that table?
I did. I
Nice.
seated you at that table. I'm like, Melanie will talk to everybody. They'll make friends.
I'll talk to anybody. That's why I have my own podcast.
Mhm.
Okay, so Kara, I'm so happy you were able to make it. And I'm so happy you're all here. Thrifting is a huge part of my life, and it has become an even bigger part of my life in the last 5 to 10 years. When I started thrifting in high school, it was because I was looking for something very specific that you could not get at Macy's. Couldn't get it at Bloomingdale's, couldn't get it in, the clothing shops on the Upper West Side where I lived. I wanted vintage stuff. I wanted vintage bowling shirts. The goal was always for the gas station, pump, thing on the back, or the bowling league, and the name. If I could find Jim Bob, I would have been the happiest person on the planet. I looked for bowling shoes and old man sweaters. And that has turned into not just looking for the greatest vintage things, but getting great bargains, finding things you can't find anywhere else. And I'm really leaning into the concept of sustainability, knowing that millions and millions of pounds of clothing go to landfills every year. Even the things that we donate doesn't mean that they're going to end up in someone's closet as opposed to in a landfill. So I kind of feel like all of those are the reasons that I like to do it. But the other reason I like to do it is because hanging out with you guys is just so stinking fun and funny and all the things. So can we go back around and have each of you share, why thrifting is something that you enjoy doing? Why don't we go in a different order this time? You go first, Leah.
Okay. So this is the story of when I started thrifting. I want to say it was probably 1993. I had moved to Santa Cruz. Rockabilly was huge. And I just really wanted vintage, authentic pieces to go swing dancing in. And so it was finding this wardrobe that just wasn't available, obviously, because it was throwback to another era. And so that's when I started thrifting. But then I really got into it in 2019, probably, because for two reasons. One, I had lost an enormous amount of weight and I kept losing. And so I bought new clothes because I thought, oh, look, and then they would be too big. And I had bought them and wasted money and went to go donate bags and bags of clothes and realized that I could get a much better style if I actually just thrifted. And so that's what I started doing. I also wanted to find fabrics that I used to not be able to afford back in the day, like silks and cashmere and things that if you go through all those racks, literally just by touch, you can find really, really interesting things. So that's probably the 3 reasons I thrift and hanging out with you guys.
I love that. Evie, you go next.
All right. Well, I think I'm the baby of the group in terms of thrifting, right? I'm like the Rocky Horror Virgin. I'm like the thrifting virgin. Um, I've always been a big donator, but then I never really stuck around and did the shopping part. So, in terms of the sustainability, I would always drop off clothing rather than have it get thrown out or go to waste. I really started getting into it when I started hanging out with you guys when you all went as a group, and it was so much fun. And so I love to thrift with you. For me, honestly, it's about the money savings. It makes a lot more sense to buy a lovely top for $8 instead of $80. So that's a big plus for me, is the fact that it's a lot less expensive and you can get some really nice things.
100%. Everyone's nodding their heads. They agree. Felicia, why are you thrifting?
So, it's interesting because, I was raised by my grandmother growing up, and she would be horrified to know how much I love thrifting now because, we were Lord and Taylor, Alexander's for my tap shoes, my sister and I, Nathan Borlam on Havermeyer Street. Like you're talking to the person that would have to come home from school and change into her play clothes. So, if she knew that I was buying clothes that were owned by someone else, she would be horrified. But the thrill is in the find. And I am grateful because between Melanie and Leah, I feel like I am being led by the queens. I mean, your ability to be, I'm like, I'm all over the place. Like if you bring me to Costco, I'm like a balloon, like, whoa, come on down here. I'm like, oh my God, shoes. Oh my God. And I watch you and I try to learn from you. And then I think, the older you get, you understand the different brands and what this really costs. And then it's such a gift and a find. Like, I say it all the time. We live in the fashion capital of the world. I'm not going to spend, especially now. Did you say you want $50 for those jeans? I got these Zara dark blue jeans for $5. And the best is my daughter's friend, who's like 9 feet tall. She's like, "Oh my God, Felicia, let me show you my new jeans. I got them for $15. Same jeans. And I was like, "Oh, wait a second, girl. I got them for $5.98. So I think it's the thrill of the find and knowing the value and being able to wear it. And I love that my daughter loves it as well, because then she's like, when I am done with it, I will pass it on.
I think you made a really good point, because sometimes I talk about how I'm giving clothing a second life. Maybe I'm the fourth person that owned this robe, and when I'm done with it, if it's in okay condition, it's going to go back. It could belong to another 4 people. Who knows? And I kind of like knowing that there might be a story behind something, right? I mean, okay, we're going to do stories in a minute. Kara.
Ditto to everything here. I love history, so I like the idea that the piece I'm acquiring at Thrift has a history behind it. I wish I were the size of ladies in the 50s or 60s to wear some of those cute, dresses and tops. I do have some stuff from my mom that, again, I wish I could feel less like a sausage, squeezed into it. But I love that kind of style, that workmanship, the quality, and just the uniqueness of it. I can't say for how long I've been thrifting. I went to college in the city, and there were definitely thrift shops around, but I was kind of like, well, I don't know, little suburban girl. Probably my best friend Sharon introduced me, and now we're rabid thrifters. Everywhere we go, we have to thrift, and we've dragged along a friend of ours. I think a lot of the thrift stores are nonprofit, so I like that a lot. Like where my daughter works, the proceeds go back to the community in terms of grants or playgrounds or stuff like that. So that's a big part of it for me as well.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I was going to say, how many times have we all thrifted at the Junior League in Roslyn? Chase works there. We have an inn.
Yes. And it's great to see, like you're saying, Felicia, like what catches Leah's eye or what catches Evie's eye, or this, I think this will look great on you. Like the community nature of it is just terrific. And then, yeah, absolutely looking at prices or new with tags and what you get it for. And I love just releasing it back into the wilds of thrift, but also having so many choices while you're there. You know what I mean? Like a winter coat, jeans, whatever it may be. It's kind of all there together. I'm going to even talk about housewares, but sometimes I get some really nice pieces that I just like. It's just the right kind of thing that I was looking for in my kitchen. So there's that part of it too.
Right.
Hence
right.
my
I
dark
love that.
jeans for $5.98 from Chase's shop.
But Felicia, don't you have a pair of pants that you like to talk about, because they were even cheaper than that? Oh, did you bring them over?
Show and tell.
I could practically sleep in these. A, they feel like sweatpants, and B, where were we on Atlantic Avenue? First of
Out
all,
of the
look
closet.
at the plant. Look at the plant, and then look at this fabulous strip. I
Tuxedo.
love this, and I tried them on. They're long on the little flare on the bottom, and I went up to the counter, and they're like, "Oh, that's $1," and I went, am I being punked? I literally said it out loud. I said, is there a camera? Am I being punked? And the person behind the counter was just, like, I'm not amused. And I was like perseverating for at least 5 minutes. Like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Are they kidding me? Melanie, these are $1. Are you kidding me? And I will have these forever, because they were $1. And every time I get a compliment when I wear them, I'm like, these are $1.
Well, and you know what? We're made to think that when someone's like, "Oh, that's a cute dress," and you're like, "Oh, I got it on sale," like that's a bad thing. I don't think that's a bad thing at all. And I think especially when you talk about having thrifted it, because then you're promoting thrifting and all the things. But I also want to be clear that getting secondhand isn't just thrift. It's yard sales, and most of us are in Brooklyn, so we do stoop sales in Brooklyn, or estate sales. I think a bunch of us did really well at an estate sale last year. So why are you thrifting?
Well, likely I started when I was younger. I grew up in suburban Texas, and my mother loved a good bargain, but she was not into secondhand. That is just not something she ever wanted to do, and would readily Lysol anything that I brought home. My best friend in high school had just moved from Seattle, Washington, and in the late '80s, early '90s, it was like a very hippy dippy, she was from a well-to-do family, but they had this whole hippy dippy vibe. And so with her, we traversed the inner city of Houston and all of the thrift stores there, including Mr. Peabody's Wayback Machine was the name of one of them. And I kind of learned from her. And then when I was a fashion student in Houston later on, and all of the Prada clothes came out looking very 70s, which were obviously way above my pay grade as a student, as a just a normal person. So what I would do is I would hit the thrift stores and find like chunky heels and all that kind of stuff that matched with that. And I discovered that. But I didn't thrift again in my, once I moved up to New York, it was just kind of this intimidating thing of like vintage stores. They put the term vintage on there, and it's automatically a huge markup. So actually you're paying more for clothes or things. But I did sometimes would go to some certain stores. I can't remember the name of them, but there's one in Soho that was actually really good. But for the most part, when you talk about vintage, it's a little intimidating. So when I started hanging out with the girls, with Mel and Leah and Felicia, and we started hitting out in Evie and going to the for this group that you guys have started with Cara and everybody. It's been a really fun journey back into not just thrifting, but discovering that kind of thrill of things that are all from different decades and different, there's not all the same fashion that's come out for the past whatever seasons that everyone's wearing. You can dive in and kind of rediscover your own style, which is what I always liked about it.
You make me think about how, when I was thrifting in high school in the middle of the 80s, I was searching for things from mid 50s to mid 60s.
Right.
And that was considered vintage. And now the clothing we wore firsthand in
Don't
the
say
80s.
it. Don't say it.
The 90s are the vintage now.
Exactly.
The
We're vintage.
90s.
What can I say?
And so there's a YouTuber I talk about a lot that I love, and she talks more about sustainability and underconsumption, or overconsumption and underconsumption. And she was talking about shopping vintage for Y2K stuff, and I was like, "But
Wasn't that yesterday?
but
Right.
wait, that's vintage." So
You
apparently,
need a flannel
vintage
shirt? I got you.
that would have been 90s. I mean, anyway, I love it because you're not going to find everything that you like everywhere. You're not going to go out and get an entire wardrobe in one day. I mean, you could, but it would take a lot of work and a lot of sorting. But you can get a lot of stuff in one day. I think the thing that's hard about thrifting is you can have a list and be like, okay, so I need this kind of jeans, I need this kind of shirt and this kind of jacket. And you're not guaranteed you'll find those things, which means what you are finding are the things you weren't searching for. And you're like, ooh, this is really cool, which can lead sometimes to spending more than you've allocated for because you weren't looking for these things. But I think most of the thrift finds that we all have that are favorites are the things we weren't looking for, whether someone else showed it to us or we picked it out ourselves and we were like, okay, so I do want to go around and find out what your favorite finds are. Who wants to go first? I'm going to let you guys decide. Who wants to talk
Well,
about their favorite finds?
I'm gonna
Go
go
ahead, Evie.
because I'm gonna disprove your theory, because I'm a very targeted shopper. Like I'm like the opposite of you growing up, Felicia. I'm not into clothes. I was never into clothes. When we would all go to the mall as teenagers, and I just wanted to go to Walden Books and Sam Goody, right? I didn't want to go clothing shopping. So when I thrift usually
Wait, hold
there's
on a
something.
second, Evie. Hold on. For those of you who are not from a very long time ago, Sam Goody was a record store or an electronics store. I just wanted people to know who you were what you were talking about.
Well,
Okay, go ahead.
usually there's something I'm looking for. Like I was looking for dresses to wear to my niece's bat mitzvah, which Melanie found it for me. I was looking for, something specific. And the last great find that I got was I was looking for a coat. I needed a winter coat. And I found this gorgeous, if I tell you, I don't know if you can see the color on it's this
It's blue.
long teal, like a blue, really, really long, really, really warm with a gorgeous hood and this fur. I mean, it's fake fur. I love it. And I'll tell you the story. I wear this like every day because it's freezing right now. I literally get a compliment every single day, either from somebody I know or from a stranger. Like, that's a beautiful coat. And to every single person, I say, thrifted, $8. $8 coat. It was an $8 coat.
Or is that something someone else found and brought
No,
it?
I found it. I was looking and I found it. And the joy of finding something inexpensive is that, I took it to be dry cleaned and it cost 4 times as much to dry clean as it did. So it was $30 to dry clean it, $8 for the coat. But it's such a nice coat that if in that Goodwill or whatever, if I had found this and it said $38, I still would have bought it. So it's
Right.
because
I
it's
told
still,
you to try it on. I was like, try it on, try it on, try it on, try it on. The color is spectacular. The fit is spectacular. May you wear it for many, 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 many seasons.
Many seasons.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
that's my favorite find. And I was
that.
targeted. I need a coat. I found a coat.
It doesn't always work out that way. It
I
doesn't.
know.
Okay, so we saw Felicia's pants. Is there anything else that you want to show off?
I remember when you
the
found
shoes.
those.
Oh my God, the bottom shelf. Does anybody look in the bottom shelf? And I was like, oh, what are these? What are these? And then I saw, I don't know if you can see on the inside, these are birdies. Birdies. Velvet slipper. $130 on the market. $5. Like, I didn't even want to be like, whoever tagged this area, you're not doing your research.
Don't let them know.
Exactly.
Don't let them know.
Oh my God. Cushioned on the inside. When I tell you it's a slipper, but you can wear it outside, oh my God. Forever and ever.
No one had worn them. Those things were brand new when you bought them.
Yeah. I
How
heard
many
my
times have we
grandmother's
found-
voice like, you're wearing someone else's shoes? They were. And a part of me was like, they've never been worn. So thank you.
Yeah. 100%. I love it. Leah, favorite find?
So I don't have it with me, but it'll speak to a coat. I happened to be at a random kind of sushi coffee shop on the edge of Prospect Park. And I was with my friend Amber. And we turned around and mind you, we're ordering like, I don't know, $9 lattes or whatever. And I turned around and they had this little tiny rack of clothes. And at first I thought, oh, people are just hanging their coats there. And then there was like, flannel shirt or whatever. And then there was this coat. And just so you know, not that you can tell by my big personality in Zoom, I am under 5 feet tall. I have very short arms. Anything I put on a lot of the time, even when it's thrift or whatever, is like it will cost so much to hem or tailor that it's not worth it to me. And I found this brown wool coat, with a collar, with a vintage collar, and it was 3/4 length, which is my absolute favorite and looks the absolute best on me. And it was this beautiful brown wool coat that literally fit like it was built for me. And I have to say, it's probably from the 40s. And it was just like the most beautiful vintage coat I had ever seen. And it was like it was made for me. And it was one of those things that I grabbed it and I looked at the price and it was like, I don't know, $30 or $40. But again, it was a ridiculously good vintage coat that I couldn't hope to find anywhere else. And if it had been in one of those resale vintage shops like Rosie was talking about, they would have known and they would have marked it $120. And I literally acted like I was going to get caught buying it because it was such a steal and it was so amazing. And again, I wear it all the time. And people stop me on the street and say, "Oh my God, you look so nice." It's like, it's such a beautiful, almost piece of history and art in and of itself. I wear it with such pride. And I love to say, my favorite thing to say when anyone compliments me on anything is, "It's thrifted." I love it. It's my favorite thing because I love to see their reaction. And there are people that are like, "Oh my God, that's amazing." And then there are people that are kind of shocked, but then they smile. And
I wear clothing for me. I pick out clothing that I like. But it is really nice when someone compliments you on what you're wearing. And then to be able to say, "Come on, ladies, if it's a dress, it has pockets."
It has
Isn't that the other
pockets.
thing that we show everybody? Look, my dress has pockets. Okay. Rosie, favorite find.
Okay, so one of my favorite finds was a yellow dress at Plus Brooklyn that I went back for after I tried it on. Or I don't know. Yeah, I tried it on. I was a little self-conscious about it. I still haven't worn it. But my other favorite thing is this beautiful sweater coat that I just kind of found when we went to New Jersey. Remember this? I wore this to a play at the Shed to see this great play. I've worn it at work. I've worn it to Ailey. I wore it on Halloween. Like, it's become like my go-to nice looking. It's just so flattering and it's so unique. And it's not like this big time designer. It's Ann Taylor, which is nice, but it's just, it's just this dark navy. I don't know. That's one of the reasons I like to go to these places is you find stuff that's just like, oh, that's like so niche for me and it works. And I like to go without a list. Everyone has their style. For me, I just never know what I'm going to find and you just have to try it on. And it could just be something you weren't expecting. And that's my favorite thing.
For
along with
for
hanging out with you guys.
And it looks so awesome on you. I remember
Yeah.
when you came out at the dressing room. That's the place where I got these fabulous Eileen Fisher pants.
Oh, yeah,
The only thing that makes me sad is that they are not lined. I mean, I could spend a ton of money and line them, but I'm not going to because it defeats the
way.
purpose. These
Right.
pants give me like the only thing that I did was they have a hook at the waist and I needed a button. That is the only alteration. But I mean, I was with you guys and I came out of the dressing room and you were all like, oh, and this shirt as well with this fabulous sleeve.
I
You were all like,
remember it. Yeah.
I remember
and
that.
Mel
I
was like,
think,
oh, you can actually wear that shirt with those pants. And I was like, okay.
I
yes, I
believe you.
remember. I
You
think I
said
said
that.
that. One of the things I think you're bringing up and about like, you remember this, that to me is a good reason to go with friends is because you're like, is it as fabulous as I think it is? Am I, hallucinating this? And your friends can just, by their reaction, if you know them at all, like I know you guys, the way it's like, yes, which is a
I think
great.
Evie's gotten angry with me when I said I didn't like a print on something. But do you remember that?
What do you mean you don't like that?
I wouldn't wear it, but but I think we're all like, we're honest, right? That helps when you're shopping. I don't want to spend any
Oh.
money on something and get it home and be like, why didn't someone say something? For whatever
right.
the reason is. Yeah. Kara,
Yeah,
do you
I
have
just
a favorite
remember
find?
Mel.
Oh, go ahead,
I
Evie.
can't really say that I do. I mean, I do have a pair of Eileen Fisher pants that I like. A couple pairs. I got a white Eileen Fisher sweater for $5, I think, at Junior League Thrift. I mean, I kind of like it all because I like all the things we talked about, right? The hanging out together and the sustainability and the history and the pay it forward and pay it backwards. I think it all brings me joy, just the whole collective experience.
I love that. We also eat and drink when we're together, so that's always nice.
One of the things I love about thrift now is, if you look around, it looks like everyone's in a uniform, right? This is the most popular thing that's on Instagram. So everybody has these shoes or everybody has these pants or everybody has this shirt and they walk around like almost like robots. Like, well, that's great that you have the most Instagrammable sweater on the planet. I'd rather have something completely different that no one has seen. And I feel like that really is more of a testament to someone's style or their confidence or, who they are as an individual, as opposed to just being one of the masses that wears, throwaway clothes. And that's something that's really
Yes.
disturbing to me, is the level of garbage clothes that are mass produced in a third world country that wind up in landfill. And it's so that everybody can look the exact same way in the exact same dumb cropped sweater. By the way, nobody over 20 should wear a cropped sweater. I'm just going to put that out there. But it's terrible. I'd much rather have my own personality come through. And maybe that's age and wisdom. Maybe if I was 17, I would have been horrified at that. I don't think Mel was. I think Mel was always unique in her style. It took me a little longer to get really love about thrifting.
I just wanted to add to the comment that you said before about people being honest with each other, because that's one of the things that makes it so much fun to go thrifting in a pack instead of on your own. And I specifically remember, I'm going with you guys, so it's people who know me well. At this point, we know what colors look good on each other. We know what styles, A-line versus this. And I just remember I tried something on and Mel was there and I was like, Mel, I'm like yelling in the store, like, can you come to the fitting room? I need you to tell me whether or not this is a schmata. And I'm like, does this look good on me or is this a schmata? And she took one look. She's like, it's a schmata. I'm like, great. That's all I needed to hear. Schmata's a
means rag.
Yeah. It looks amazing on the hanger, but then you put it on, you're like, this is not working, right?
And a friend will tell you something that you think
The
looks like a
truth.
schmata on the hanger. They'll know, no, you need to try it on. I promise you, try it on. Yeah. What were you saying, Felicia?
I was going to say, I said to Leah, find me a dress. I want you to find me a dress. And she found me a dress and I saw the size and I was like, no. And she was like, just put it on. And I put it on. I was like, damn it all. Okay, fine. So, yeah.
And it looked so good on you.
So good, dry, clean, ready to go, bust out the weather. Let's go.
Right.
But one funny story is, I have a thing for leather jackets. I probably should never, ever buy another leather jacket. What? Who's going to Italy in April? In any event, I said to Jonathan, I want to find a leather blazer. And he's like, oh, great, another leather jacket. And we went to Piece by Piece here in the neighborhood. And I remember looking around, and there was somebody must have left a pile by the mirror. If I tell you what, I lifted it up and it was a leather blazer back in the day when, what was it? New York and Co. produced leather products and it was a leather blazer for $14. And I was like, well, this is a gift from heaven. And I'll tell you what, I was like, is there anybody coming back for this? I snatched it so quickly and ran up to the counter. And I was like, just ring me up. Just ring me up. And to this day, still have it. Love it. Love it. And you know what? I'd agree. I don't care what the most popular thing is. I'm at an age, if it works for me, it works for me. It works for my body, it works for my body. I know with my daughter, she's like, I don't know about that. I'm like, yeah, I love it. Thanks, though.
Right. We get to a certain age, and it's like I said before, I dress for me. I don't dress for anyone else. So there may be people out there that don't like my style, and I don't care because, I'm finally wearing exactly what I want as opposed to, trying to fit a mold. So I'm so happy you mentioned the jackets because one of the things that I talk about is also in sustainability, animals are really important to me. And so I will buy leather, but I will only buy leather secondhand. I am not buying leather firsthand. And so when the girl with purple hair and purple walls in her office and purple nails finds a purple leather jacket.
Well, who found that jacket? Hold on. Who found that jacket?
I saw it first. I just didn't take it off the rack. I do want to say that.
Okay.
I saw it there and I was like, I don't need it. I don't need to spend the money on it. And then Leah showed it to me and reminded me who I am. And it was more than $14.99, but it is a purple leather jacket that I will have for the rest of my life because it's made by one of the older, well-known leather manufacturers. There's a lot of power to that. I also like to say I'm like one of the only people that I know that would walk in and see a robe and be like, you know what? I'm going to make it a coat and I'm going to look like Hugh Hefner. And you know what? If it was in a department store, I wouldn't have bought it. But something about it being in a thrift shop, and this was the only time I bought something from the window. I was like, can I see that thing in the window, please? Yeah. which I've done in how many shops, but I had never done it in a thrift shop. And I do think the young lady was like, "Are you sure that's what you want to look at?" So I appreciate us being able to say that. Does anybody have a funny thrift story?
What, you mean like
I mean,
busting out of the dressing room and hurting somebody and ripping something out of someone's hands? Nope, that's not me. Nope.
something tells me that must have happened.
What? What was that
Okay,
again?
Evie, you got a
No,
good story.
no.
I don't know if it's a good story as much as it was like the weirdest find I ever found. And like I kind
Okay.
of burst out laughing. A coffin, a casket. And
Where were you?
at the big reuse. And then I
Oh,
did a little
right.
homework and it turned out that it was set dressing from a TV
Set-
show.
Yeah.
But still, it's a casket and it was
How much
$600,
was-
it was 600, but it was like really
That's cheap.
fancy. It was
I feel
from,
that that's a bargain.
what's the sequel to Sex and the City? It was from that.
Oh,
And what's
all things
it-
considered.
Oh my
Just like
God,
that.
No.
You
And
Big
just like
was
that.
buried in that.
yeah. It was Mr. Big's coffin and it was $600, but I just couldn't stop thinking for a whole day about like who wants to buy this, and then like, oh, because it is a really good deal, right? Okay, I'm going to buy it now.
Where are you gonna put it?
Where are you going to put it? And you're going to save it for 45 years until you actually, and then you won't
Here's
get to
hoping.
enjoy it, right?
Here's
And then you won't
hoping.
get to enjoy it. So that cracked me up. I was looking for something else, and I turned the corner, and there was this giant casket.
Love you sharing that, because I would also love people to hear about places like the Big Reuse. The Big Reuse is here in Brooklyn. I know that there are places like it because we've seen places like that in LA, and people bring in their own stuff to get donated, but they do have a lot of furniture and lamps and other things that came from sets in the New York City area. But the other thing that's there, and I really appreciate this, is if someone had tiled the bathroom and there's leftover tiles, they bring them there. So you may not need a whole bathroom worth of tiles, and you go and they have appliances, and they have masonry and 4x4s and all the other sizes and shapes of wood that I wouldn't know what to call them. And it again promotes the concept of stability. Well, sustainability. I do have a story that I want to make sure that we finish with, or it will be the last story, and then we'll, have some last words. If you know me, you've heard this story already. Do not stop listening to the podcast, because I'm going to tell the story again. But when I was 17 years old, I was at the Salvation Army on 96th Street in Manhattan, and there was a bin of dollar sweaters. And I said before, one of the things that I was always looking for were like old man cardigans. I think I was looking for like a Mr. Rogers kind of thing. I found this beautiful teal blue in like, I don't remember what you call the knit. And I grab the sleeve and I pull, and it's not coming out. And I'm pulling. And at this point, you assume that the sleeves just got knotted with another sleeve. And then I looked up, and there was a gentleman on the other side who had the other sleeve. How many of you know the story? Who was it?
Was it Steve Martin?
Kevin Bacon.
Kevin
right.
Bacon.
It's Kevin Bacon.
Oh, one degree of
said-
That's
separation.
right. That's right.
Thank you. Well, Bill says that's
That's
not
a great
true.
story.
He says it's not true because it's actually, you have to be in a movie with him. I have a movie in my head about it, and he was
Yeah.
going to
Who
take it,
won?
and I'm standing there with my jaw, on the floor. Take it, and I'm just, I'm like holding the sweater, and he's like, take
That's
it, take it, and then
hilarious.
he finally stepped away. The rest of the story, it is a story. So I bought it. I ran all the way home from 96th to 89th Street. That's a long run, and I got home and told my mom the story, and my mother was like, "Okay, Melanie, whatever." Like, did not believe a word coming out of my mouth. I wore that sweater every single day for 2 weeks when we
my
were
God.
I don't think we washed it either. Like, it needed to have Kevin Bacon DNA on it for me to be happy. We were walking home. There was a gentleman in front of us carrying like a big brown bag of groceries, and a dog on the other hand, and the dog lurched forward and he fell forward, and there was fruit all over the place, and my mother and I were picking up oranges and handing them to Kevin Bacon. He lived on the Upper West Side. He lived in the Montana. And he said,
Were you wearing the sweater?
I didn't take it off. And he said, and I quote, "Oh, hey, sweater girl."
And you said, I got to cut loose.
Mhm.
Quite loose.
A
I was
sweater
like, hold on
girl.
1 second. Let's look at my mom right now because she
Mhm.
told me that it didn't
Right?
happen. So
Right?
yeah.
Right.
One of my favorite stories. And here's the thing, we're New Yorkers. So like we run into the famous people, and now that we're adults, we're much better behaved. As a teenager, I was like, ah. So it inspired me to keep thrifting because you never know who you might see in the store. Oh my goodness, I love you guys. Any last thoughts? Is there anything that we missed, something important about thrifting or your relationship to thrifting or secondhand? I don't want to just keep calling it thrifting. We thrift together, but we also love estate sales, yard sales, stoop sales. And let me also promote buy nothing groups, because,
Right.
for those of you who don't know
Yes.
what that is, you can, on Facebook, you can join the local buy nothing group in your neighborhood. And it's really a great community
It
tool for
is.
sharing and not having to go out and buy brand new for something that maybe you only need once and then it goes back into, the pool. So that's another option. Any last thoughts? Oh,
I love that how you are so mindful in trying to add to your very special dish collection. And I love that no matter where we are, you are always being mindful. I mean, I have my grandmother's, my father's mother's china that's like, in pre-war Japan, it says on the back of it. And I love that no matter where we go, that's one of the first sections that you hit to look. I mean, I have so much china that I don't even use, but I would never ever let it go because it was my mom's and then it was my grandmother's and I will say that for my daughter and that can be your problem. But also upcycled Brooklyn teacup. If you have teacups and you don't know what to do with them, she will upcycle it. You can make it into something like, oh, hello, thank you. We're having little sandwiches. We could put them, or I gave it to my daughter and she uses it for jewelry. But I love
right.
how that is such an important focus for you, and that no matter where you are, to continue to look for this discontinued plateware,
China.
dishware. Thank you. Wow. China. And I think that that's incredibly special to, continue to build and grow your collection.
I appreciate you saying that. So, for those of you who aren't familiar with the story, my husband and I registered for this very unique, very different pattern by Rosenthal. We picked it out in '94 when we were engaged. And shortly thereafter, we got a phone call from the head of the registry department at the Bullocks in Pasadena on Lake Street. And she said, you need to come and pick a new pattern. This has been discontinued. And I said, nope. And she said, you really should. And I said, nope. And she said, you're never going to have the full pattern. And I said, that may be true, but we're going to do what we can because it's this special and I love it this much. And I have to thank Rosie because it was always like really special for me to look at, but we didn't use it very often. And Rosie was the one that was
I
like,
love it.
use what you have, use what you
Yeah.
have. And so we've used it so much more in the
It's so
last 10 or
great. I
15
love it.
years. Thank you. I appreciate that. So I will put on all of my social media a picture and information. Like I had a friend who was living in Germany for a while and I sent her a picture. She was thrifting in Germany for me. So if you're not if you don't get to see a picture, it's called Scenario Metropol. All right. This will be in the show notes. I will put it in the show notes.
But
You can all find it in the show notes.
haven't you found like the sugar bowl since then?
We found a lot. We've got the oil and vinegar bottles. Like, whose China pattern has an oil and vinegar bottle? We have Stein. Whose China has a Stein? Well, it is
It's
from
great.
Germany. We have an ashtray.
Okay. Don't they have a coffee table that is your China pattern?
They have a
Or a
hibachi
hibachi table? There's something that's actual
hibachi
furniture.
table. So this pattern, I don't know how many of they probably made like 7 of the tables. It was probably one of those unique things. They had like the tongs and all of that stuff. I don't know what happened to it, but we did have the pamphlet or the booklet that came when you registered and it showed all the pictures. And Bill and I, I was 24 and he was 26 and we didn't have 2 nickels to rub together and we were looking, someday we're going to own this hibachi table. So I'm 56. He's going to be 59 this year. We'll find it. We'll find it in our lifetime. I have faith. Thank you for bringing that up. I really appreciate it. Hey there, this is Editing Melanie, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but I wanted to fill you in since I did some research between having recorded and editing now. And that is our China pattern is Scenario Metropol by Rosenthal, designed by the artist Barbara Brenner, who is a phenomenal artist. Her website is going to be in the show notes. I suggest checking it out. She has made some incredible textiles and fabrics, clothing I wish I could find. And she also created a lot of print art and sculpture, and she's kind of incredible. And in checking her website out, we see all these other patterns that she had made for Rosenthal, which we would easily have picked out had we not seen our China pattern to start. So in doing the research, couldn't find a catalog, but discovered a couple things. First of all, there's a clock. We registered over 30 years ago and must have tossed the pamphlet 25 years ago, or maybe more. Anyway, the point is that what we thought was a grill table or hibachi table is actually a picnic table. And here's a picture to prove it. So here's the thing. It's been very hard to get as much as we have of our pattern. We've gotten things on Etsy, and things pop up on eBay every once in a while, on Poshmark sometimes. We've looked at European websites, and navigating that is very difficult. Anyway, so it means that there are pieces out there, even if we have not seen this clock or this table before. In my research, I found a fondue pot, but it doesn't have the heating element to it. Anyway, I tell you all on a regular basis, don't buy me gifts. I don't need more stuff. I don't need more clutter. And now I'm going to talk out of the other side of my mouth. If you happen to come across anything Rosenthal, Scenario Metropol, designed by Barbara Brenner, I will take any piece that you find, and you would be literally my best friend for. All right, any last thoughts, my friends?
I just think it's really fun to get a compliment on something. Like, oh, you look so cute in that dress. Oh, that's a beautiful dress. And I'm like, $6, $5, thrifted.
It's a brag.
And,
It's a
and
total
It is.
brag.
Right.
I got a
It
compliment
is, but it's
today
also
in a meeting.
promoting thrifting, which is a good thing. And I love the fact that my kids, I can't take credit for it. They did it on their own, but both of my kids are really into thrifting. So it's an activity that we can do together. And there are so few activities that, your teenager wants to do with you.
Yes.
But thrifting is one of them. So I really like
Same.
that.
Same.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I love
Rosie,
that
you got a good
that
Rosie, you have a good thrifter in your
Oh,
house
I
too.
do.
oh
Tabby's
yeah.
Definitely.
Tabby's
Oh
great.
yeah,
Yeah.
she's on it.
Yeah.
But I love
Mhm.
that the first reaction is, "Oh, you know what I'm looking for? Can we go to a thrift shop?" Like, I love that is versus, "Hi, I need to go shopping." It's,
Mhm.
"You know what? Can we Jonathan was looking for something very, very specific, and that was his ask. Can we go to, L Train and look for XYZ?" And, I think that that's great. I mean, Max, he lived in Atlanta, and he moved home, and you know me and my leather jackets, all my friends are in the front closet, and all of a sudden I see this Mark Andrew jacket, and I was like, "Oh my God, did I why is it so big?" And then Max is like, "Oh, that's mine." And I'm like, "You do understand that I used to go to the Mark Andrew outlet sale November in Secaucus, New Jersey." I go, "Dude, do you even understand the value of this awesomeness?" Also in my mind, like, God, I wish it was a little smaller, but no, you wear it well. You're really in the best of health.
I love it. Yeah. I think what we'll do is we'll get into the show notes, everybody's favorite thrift stores, and then anybody who's listening can obviously in the comments throw in their favorite places to do secondhand. Oh, and if you're listening and you're like, those people are so much fun when they're together, we will find another reason to gather and talk about other things on this podcast. There's a lot of clutter associated with being very judgy about having better taste in music than other people. And so maybe that's one of the
Oh,
conversations that we have
you,
coming up,
you,
right?
you need me and Evan on that show.
Of
You need me
course.
on.
All right. My loves,
Mhm.
thank you so much for joining me today. And for those of you who are listening, check back with us real soon.
Thank you for the
Bye.
invite.
Thank you for listening to Lighten Up the Art of Living Clutter-Free. If this episode resonated, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who could use just a little bit of lightness. If you're ready for deeper support, you can work with me one-on-one or join my Lighten Up Clutter-Free Mindset Group program. You can find all the details at my website, thoughtfullycoaching.com. Until next time, progress over perfection. Messy action is better than no action at all. So let's lighten up.